We'll talk taxes, the diversion, places to go, and things to do. And of course, bison and Viking football. We'll talk about issues that affect everyone in this great community that we call home. That's Talk of the Town with John Adams, Wednesdays at 11 on WDAY Radio.
970 WDAY AM and 93.1 FM, Fargo-Moorhead.
Welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon. Another beautiful day out there. Dean, guess the temperature right now.
34.
You think it's 34? Bridgette, what do you think it is? Where are you located today? Because I see you're not in your home office.
I am not. I am in Garrison, North Dakota. I have not looked at what my temperature settings say, but I'm going to take a guess at somewhere around 37 degrees because it's really nice and melty out there.
It is currently 33 degrees here in Fargo and around the area. Well, temperatures kind of in line. Throughout the Southern Valley and out west, we're in the mid to upper 30s. Northern Valley, mid to upper 20s to, in a few spots, low to almost mid 30s. But pretty nice. But guess what? Over in Minnesota, it's 40 degrees right now through the central portion of the state. Why is it so much warmer over in Minnesota than, or at least in the northern half, than it is here? You got to guess?
Do they have less snow?
No, I think they actually might have a little bit more snow than we do.
Okay, then that's my guess. Dean, why?
It is because of the forests. So there's
Pine tree effect.
Yeah, there's no snow on the pine trees. That's all blown off. So the dark color of the pine tree is absorbing the sunlight and making it warmer.
So you're telling me all those years I have said I like living on the prairie because those trees just get in the way and I can't see what my neighbors are doing? I guess those trees have an effect.
Those trees are blocking
Okay.
the wind and making it warmer.
All right, fine. I still can't see what the neighbors are doing, though. Just saying.
Well, there's ups and
That
downs
might be
to
a good
that.
thing. Especially if I was your neighbor.
Oh, my. That's a neighbor you don't want to be peeping on.
We're good. We're good.
We're good.
Oh, man. Dean got a pool.
But we're going to continue with this mild weather. We'll see a brief shot of some cold weather coming in tomorrow. You'll notice a big difference tomorrow. Winds will be whipping out of the north-northwest, gusting up to 40. And then colder weather tomorrow on Friday. And then we're back in the 30s through the weekend and at least into the first half of next week. So the first 2 weeks of February with temperatures well above where they should be for this time of the year, that just puts us closer and closer to spring, and we'll have we've got 11 inches of snow on the ground. We'll probably be down to about 5 or 6 by later next week. This is going to melt pretty quick.
A few spots will probably just go bare ground entirely, especially some of those open fields where it's basically already blown away.
Yeah.
You're just down to a crust of ice.
So that's good news there, and we're still eyeing the potential of a couple of systems mid-month and beyond. But right now, the storm track has been to our south. The storms are there on the LRC, like predicted, but things are a little different this time around in this cycle as those storm systems continue to track to the south. So we continue to get lucky. I got a feeling Mother Nature is going to let us it's payback sooner or later. I mean, we can't.
Well, we got to get hit at one point. But what's been the trend over the last couple of years? What's that saying you always say that I've never heard about? Something in like a something, out like a lion.
Oh, in like a lion, out like a lamb for the month of March. And we're not even at March yet, guys.
Yeah.
So we going to go out with the big bang?
I bet April.
I bet you late
I bet
March,
we get socked on the chin in April. But you know what? You get hit then. Snow doesn't
always
last long.
get one of those up
It doesn't
here
last
too.
long,
Late
and it warms
March,
right
early April,
Yeah.
classic blizzard. You can't seem to avoid it.
Nope.
I don't know what's in the water up here, but
It's just that time of the year.
it's just that time of the year. Well, guys, we got some fun things coming up on the show. Oh, sorry, Bridgette.
Justin, you may not know what's in the water, but that's because it's snow. It's not water. It's
Yeah.
actually what's
It's
in
frozen.
the snow. And absolutely.
It's not going to
And
be
yes,
frozen
and
for long.
No, but as Justin was saying, we do have a lot going on today. We'll get a chance to talk about some headlines. One of them is that United Airlines wants to have a more sustainable jet fuel, so they're looking at the corn growers' production. And we've got a guest. That would be Allison Thompson. Wanted to make sure I got her name right. She's with the MoneyFarm. She's a commodities broker. Anyone know what that means?
Yeah, we're going to corner the orange juice market after talking to her.
You can only hope
Right.
we'll be able to do that when we come back right after this.
From ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. President Biden is hitting the road, or rather the skies, traveling to Wisconsin and Florida this week to tout some of the points raised in last night's State of the Union address. At the White House, it's been a pat-yourself-on-the-back kind of morning. ABC's Mary Alice Parks is there.
The president said that he was having a good time. At least you could feel that, and you can feel that here at the White House this morning. They feel strong about this. They say the president looked energetic, and they believe that that message of his to finish the job, calling on Congress and all of Washington to come together on some of these very popular policy proposals, landed with the American people. They feel good about it.
ABC's John Carl, chief Washington correspondent for ABC News, has more on the Republican response to last night's speech.
Sarah Sanders literally going to Trump's old spokesperson. Her message was very much in keeping with Trumpism. It was harshly negative, almost a bit of American carnage that we saw from Trump in his inaugural address. But one interesting thing, Sarah Huckabee Sanders may have invoked Trump, but she never once mentioned his name in that speech.
The desperate search to find any more people alive in the rubble of buildings in Turkey and Syria after the earthquake goes on. ABC's Marcus Moore is in southern Turkey.
These teams have been working around the clock because they know that if it goes on any longer, that the chances of survival begin to dwindle. And in the midst of that work, not only are they dealing with the rubble here, the people who are trapped are also enduring the elements. It has been incredibly cold here in Turkey and in Syria.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is in Britain today, pushing for fighter jets to ensure his country's victory over Russia. He delivered a speech to the UK Parliament where he also thanked the British people for their support since day one of the invasion. Days after crews released and burned toxic chemicals following a train derailment in eastern Ohio, people remain worried about substances in the air and possibly in the water. You're listening to ABC News.
I am Kate Gibson, and I hope I don't regret starting a weekly podcast with my father, Charlie Gibson.
Thanks, kiddo. On our new ABC audio podcast, The Bookcase with Kate and Charlie Gibson, we will have conversations with our favorite new and established writers, as well as book lovers and booksellers.
There's nothing more delicious than spoon-feeding yourself every word of a wonderful novel.
New episodes of The Bookcase with Kate and Charlie Gibson are posted every Thursday.
Wait a minute. You mean now I can listen to GMA any time of the day, anywhere?
Yes, that's exactly what we mean with the new Good Morning America podcast. Listen to all of GMA served up daily straight to you. Oh, Michael.
What? I'm listening to our new GMA podcast. It's really good.
Listen to the Good Morning America podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Subscribe now. It's really...
Attention business owners, did you know that burglary and theft in Fargo is nearly 2 times higher than the national average? Walmart recently said that if theft doesn't slow down, they'll have to raise prices and shut down stores. Target projects they'll lose $600 million in net profits this year due to theft. As a business owner, you need to protect your business and your profits. You need a security solution. And right now, for a limited time only, 702 Communications is offering business security solutions that will protect you, your business, your employees, and your profits. To find out if you qualify for a 702 Communications business security solution, call right now at 218-304-8676. Again, that's 218-304-8676. Imagine the peace of mind you'll have knowing that your security solution is monitoring your business 24/7, 365. That peace of mind is priceless. So call now at 218-304-8676. Again, 218-304-8676.
Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for rejoining us. 112 this afternoon. Temperatures around the area poking up into the 30s, shaping up to be another beautiful day, and we'll touch on that forecast coming up here in just a moment. I'm meteorologist Justin Storm. I'm here with Ag Director Bridgette Readel. And Bridgette, who's the guy to my left?
He seems familiar. Have we met before?
I think he just strolled in. Stranger, what's your name?
Oh, you're talking to me?
Stranger, yes. Who are you?
Oh, man. Bridgette, I had to deal with him all morning Because normally he hasn't been here that often. He's working remote. And I'm worried. Don't be surprised if I just walk off the set here this afternoon. My patience is
look, guys.
paper thin with this guy.
Hold it together. I'll be there with you tomorrow to try to referee. I'll do my best.
Oh, man.
Does that make it better or worse? If I'm actually there with
sure.
you?
That's like the Three Stooges then.
That's better. You can call him out on all the cheap shots. Give him a penalty.
The sales department thinks we're hilarious. I can only hope.
I'm sure they do.
I hope so. Well, before we dive into this forecast, which is shaping up to be a beautiful one outside of a minor hiccup tomorrow, why don't we touch on one of our ag topics for today? I know there was a couple yesterday that we imagine this didn't get to. Maybe let's hit one from yesterday and see if we can catch up for the rest of the day. And this is a beneficial insect in field crops.
Okay, well, I never know what you're going to ask me, so thankfully I have all my references handy in my hand, so I kind of know where we're going, what we're going to talk about. But okay, so y'all know that I am a big fan of getting rid of pests in the field, but there are beneficials out there that we want to be aware of. So I'm going to use the example of soybean aphids. When we have aphids in our soybean fields, we look at a count of 250 aphids per plant. That's our economic threshold. At that point, they start to do enough damage that we'd have to take other means and likely spray the field with an insecticide in order to remove those soybean aphids. But at the same time that you're counting the bad bugs, look at the good bugs, because there are indeed the beneficials that feed on those aphids that will control them. And if they're keeping up, Mother Nature's keeping things in balance and we don't have to go spray. And that can be the case with lots of other situations as well. So that it's called the Asian lady beetle. They look a lot like a ladybug. They can feed on the soybean aphids, but there's other beneficials out there besides those Asian lady beetles, other pollinators. Dung beetles actually are super helpful out in the wild. Lacewings, soldier beetles, and there are predatory wasps, and wasps will come in and they will eat other pests as well. So it's just one reminder that when you think about the bugs in your field, look for the good and the bad.
And Bridgette, what about United Airlines using biodiesel fuel or corn jet fuel? What's is that something new for them?
It is. So all the airlines want to reduce their greenhouse gas footprint, and we're seeing more and more discussion about carbon capture, regeneration, sustainable farming practices, etc. One way they want to do that is American Airlines believes that using corn, so an ethanol type product, is going to be better than a vegetable oil as a sustainable fuel. And they're going to start with as many as 2.7 billion gallons of fuel, and they want to work toward emissions by the year 2050. In fact, even by 2030, they want to take a 20% reduction. So they're going to start out with an initial test plant next year in 2024. They hope to have that production rolling by 2028, and they look at producing well over 3 billion gallons a year. This actually would be enough to fly 50,000 flights that would go between United's hub airports of Chicago and Denver. So
that's enough to cover like
4
days.
None of the other airlines use it? Not yet?
Not yet. There hasn't been a sustainable product for them to be using yet. But that new soybean crush plant at Jamestown, their intent is to take soybean oil, take it to a Marathon refinery in Dickinson, and also that could be a sustainable fuel as well, coming from soybeans. Corn, soybeans, all North Dakota products. These are all products that we can continue to grow here, raise, and put out on the bigger market. And remember, Mexico's been toying around with banning U.S. GMO corn. They backed up that date from 2024 to 2025. If, in fact, they start rejecting some of our GMO corn, this would be another way that we could use it, is in this production of ethanol that could potentially go over to jet fuels.
Interesting.
So,
what else could that mean for our area? Because we're do a lot of soybean and corn. If this is something that takes off and becomes more mainstream and more airlines are getting behind it, what could that mean for prices up here in our area for the crops?
You know what? When our guest comes on today, Allison, that's going to be an awesome question. So write that down, Justin. Don't forget you're going to want to ask her about that, what that could do for markets. As a commodities trader, she works heavily and is very familiar with what happens in corn, soybeans, their pricing, what affects our markets globally, especially right here. So that's a good question for her. And then I'm also going to tease the fact that on Friday, Stephanie Sinner, who is the Executive Director of North Dakota Soybean Council, is going to be joining us. She also can talk about it from her perspective as what she sees jet fuels being able to do for us that are raised sustainably with our corn and soybeans. And we hear carbon capture and regenerative ag and all of these buzzwords continuously, but North Dakota can play a pretty big part in that because of the crops that we do raise.
And I know Justin had a question for Allison. He's embarrassed to ask her, so I'll ask her when she comes on. It has to deal with the movie Trading Places. I'm sure you've seen it.
I don't know if Justin's old enough to have seen it, Dean, but you and I have. So
we have.
This is where we're going with the orange juice.
So we'll have more with our guest, Allison. And if you have any questions for Allison once she comes on our next segment, 701-293-9000. Again, that's 701-293-9000. We'll be right back.
No matter what season it is, you want an ice-cold beverage that's not going to slow you down. You want a Mick Ultra or a Mick Ultra Pure Gold. Michelob Ultra is the superior light beer that goes down smooth with only 96 calories and 2.6 carbs. And Michelob Ultra Pure Gold is brewed with organic grains from the finest fields to craft a crisp taste with no artificial flavors or colors. And only 85 calories and 2.5 carbs. You make the winning choice. Mick Ultra or Mick Ultra Pure Gold.
Bear Meadow Nursing Home is a 42-bed skilled nursing facility in Fertile, Minnesota. They pride themselves on the small-town, close-knit, home environment feel it provides its residents. And Fair Meadow Nursing Home is now hiring for the following positions: CNA, LPN, CNA therapy aides, dietary cook, dietary aide, and housekeeping aides. Fair Meadow Nursing Home and Assisted Living is committed to providing seniors a rich, meaningful, and dignified life, focusing on physical, social, spiritual, and emotional needs in order to provide the best life journey possible.
At ShareHouse, we know recovery is possible. As the leader in addiction, recovery, and mental health service in the Upper Midwest, we ask that you think of ShareHouse this Giving Hearts Day. We will be expanding our Grand Forks location to provide patients with the care and privacy they need. Your donation to ShareHouse will go into creating a more nurturing environment for our patients. This Giving Hearts Day, donate to ShareHouse on or before February 9th at sharehouse.org.
Creative Planning presents Rethink Your Money with John Hagenson, Saturday morning at 6. Join John each week as he challenges financial advice you've been given and reaffirms what you know to be true. If your financial plan doesn't include taxes, insurance, estate planning, and investing, it's incomplete and you can't afford to miss out. At Creative Planning, we provide all the expertise, all the advice you need, all in-house. To learn more, visit creativeplanning.com/radio.
News Talk Radio 970 WDAY. Hi, Meteorologist Justin Storm. Every afternoon, my forecasts let you know how the afternoon weather is going to go and that all-important ride home from work. In all 4 seasons, that's the reason you listen. Weather changes fast, and I'll give you the current conditions as well as what the evening will look like so you can make decisions on the plans you've made. Don't forget Weather and Ag Radio every day at 1 p.m. right here on WDAY.
Hi, I'm E.J. Williams. Each year, millions of animals are abandoned, and more than 1 million are euthanized before they can be rescued. Organizations like American Humane are working to harness the healing power of the human-animal bond, as animals can be trained as life-saving service and therapy dogs to help veterans, the elderly, and children with special needs to overcome the obstacles of everyday life. To find out how you can help give animals and the people they help a new leash on life, please visit AmericanHumane.org.
Welcome to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Bridgette, Readel Ag Director, along with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki. He's pretty extraordinary, but the extraordinaire is Justin Storm, the other meteorologist.
I can't say you're wrong.
I can.
I'm trying to keep everybody happy. Just trying to keep them all happy here, guys. And speaking of happy, I am happy to announce we have a great guest with us today, and that is Allison Thompson. Allison is with the MoneyFarm. I wanted to say the Money Tree, but something tells me they're not quite the same now, are they? So, all right, Allison, welcome to our adventure today. Tell us more about you, what you do as a commodity broker.
Yeah, I'm a commodity broker, market analyst with the MoneyFarm, and actually I'm really happy to announce that I am the new owner as of a week ago. So I'm very excited to be taking on the business. I know a lot of people in the industry know Mike Kruger, and I'm very excited to be taking on the legacy that he started 37 years ago. So I work with a lot of farmers and producers, seed companies, things like that on protecting their needs, their crops, hedging, all those types of things. I also work on some individualized marketing plans with growers, more personalized plans for making sales and things throughout the year. So right now we're finishing up with 22, looking ahead to 2023.
Interesting. Now, Allison, so you do a lot of you do some hedging, and what's the difference between that and do you do any day trading with any of the commodities at all?
Yeah, actually, we do. We call that spec trading.
Okay, okay.
More or less. So we keep it a little bit separate. On the farming side, yeah, we trying to keep them just into strictly hedging accounts, which is protecting prices where they are right now, protecting the downside. So if markets were to go down, we're at least protecting our bottom line. So we are starting to look at some hedging strategies for next year. Otherwise, yeah, day trading, spec trading, we do a little bit of that as well. And actually, we actually recommended some yesterday. We are into the orange juice market right now. So
there we go. Now we're talking.
Volume than our typical commodities, but it's fun.
Now, okay, so I know this might sound like a crazy question, but we hinted at it before the commercial that so the movie Trading Places, I'm sure you've seen it, correct? No? That's okay. No. So it's basically it was Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd, and this was made in the 80s, I believe, maybe 90s. I don't know. It's a while ago.
No, it was the 80s.
Was it the 80s?
Before these guys were born.
So
yes, you and me here. You and me.
There were two brothers on the stock market on an exchange board, and they wanted to corner the orange juice market. So they ended up getting the orange juice report before it was released, and they actually cornered the orange juice market. How realistic is that? It's a movie, but it's obviously it's highly illegal. But
highly illegal.
Highly illegal.
You should not be cornering the market.
Right.
And you bring that up on a USDA report day and all those good things that come with that as well. But yeah, no, there is no early releases that we should be seeing here. Okay. We always try to outguess those things, but even that's a fine art. So
right. Now we use a long range forecasting tool called the LRC, and it's proven to be accurately forecasting major events out 6, 7, 8 months with an 80% accuracy. So in other words, is there going to be flooding? Is there going to be drought? So if we know that there's going to be flooding down in South America, soybeans, corn, all that down there. If we know that in advance, how does that affect the markets here?
Well, it definitely does because they are big producers down there, mainly for corn and soybeans. That's what we're really watching right now. We're actually kind of in a weather market for South America because they haven't had ideal conditions this year. But yeah, knowing those types of things, like we've been dealing with La Nina for the last couple of years, and that's affected their crop production as well. So now we're starting to look ahead on what La Nina is going to do. So your LRC maybe can give us some ideas of what's to come, because we're definitely watching South America's weather. But obviously it's going to affect their crop production. And even today, the USDA report did lower Argentina's crop for both corn and soybeans, more than we were actually expecting them to. So we compete a lot with them on the export market, and if they have a big crop, they definitely can export more, and that does cut into some of our demand. So it is something definitely worth watching about, especially since a lot of our crop up here does typically go for exports.
So I hate to say, so really, I mean, you hate to wish negative things, but I mean, if they're suffering a drought, then that's better. That's better for our prices up here, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen a really good weather premium remain in both corn and soybeans since harvest, and that's really not typical. And again, a lot of it has to do with weather and supply and demand factors on the world market. And if those factors do remain there, yeah, it's definitely keeping us alive and well. Above $15 beans, we're getting up to $7 corn again. So all good things and worth watching. But yeah, you hate to wish suffering on other people's crops, but as long as it's in here, we don't feel too bad.
Right. You had just kind of touched on that a second. We're kind of working back up to $7 corn. Is $7 kind of like the peak, or is that where it has generally been in the past?
Well, no, we're sitting on some high prices we haven't seen in a few years. The last couple of years, we've had stronger prices, but it's not normal to see such high prices this time of year. Last year, we had some good crop insurance prices set in February as well, which is definitely worth noting. We're definitely watching those numbers, but $7 seems to be resistance as of right now. Looking at it chart-wise, we've had a hard time breaking above that here recently. So it's definitely a number we have in mind going forward, especially for those who have old crop. I think that's all kind of a number we have in mind and would like to get back to. And right now we're starting to talk about South America's second crop corn coming in, and they haven't had the best ideal conditions to get that crop planted. So maybe we'll see $7 ahead if those conditions continue.
Right. I was going to ask, besides, kind of what's going on down in South America with their crop, their harvest, what are things internally here in the United States that would cause, prices to go down or along those lines to where you hit that resistance and it just can't break through it?
Yeah, absolutely. So also touching on that today, you guys got me on a USD report day, so I have all kinds of fresh information to share with you. But we've actually been a little bit more concerned about demand for U.S. crops here domestically. We have not been having strong exports specifically for corn and wheat markets. So those things have fallen, and when it does do that, it definitely hinders our price movement to the upside because we're not getting rid of it and we're sitting on supply. Stocks are still relatively tight, don't get me wrong, but we're still not seeing the same usage we have. So exports is one thing. We're also seeing some other domestic usage. Ethanol got cut in today's report, as well as soybean crush. So some of those usages did go down, which probably hindered our rally a little bit following today's report.
Right.
They did not touch exports, though, in today's report, so I have a feeling we could see some of those cuts coming down the road in the months to come.
I see. And before we kind of dive into that route, we'll have a bottom of the hour break coming up, but I want to get one more question in here because it's kind of related to the topic that we're touching on. And this is something that I throw at Bridgette all the time. Anytime I can just kind of throw a curveball at Bridgette, I like to do it. But with Ukraine, with the agreement going on over there with Russia for the grain exports, and we're hearing all this stuff about the Black Sea, and it's getting more expensive and it's more dangerous. Less ships are going in and out. They're having a hard time getting the grains out. How do markets over there and their exports affect things here in the United States? A lot of our things don't necessarily come from Ukraine, but all the markets are kind of tied together. So what kind of effects does what's going on over there play into our markets, if there are any?
Yeah, well, interestingly, it's almost been a year since we've had the start of the Ukraine conflict beginning. So this isn't new to the market, and obviously going on a year, it's kind of settled itself out a lot considering the volatility we had when it first all started. But as of right now, it's really settled down. We haven't had a whole lot of fresh news on the grain side of things. Their export deal's still going. But from a grain market standpoint, the Black Sea, Ukraine, Russia, they do have supplies available on the world market, and they're able to sell them and offer them cheaper on the global market at a cheaper price than what we can. So they've actually seen a decent amount of export business over there compared to us. And obviously right now there's a lot of countries with the economy the way it is struggling to get, they want cheap food needs. Basically. So when these other countries are able to provide that at a cheaper cost, that's where they're going. So, and right now, they're able to do that through the Black Sea area.
Awesome. Well, we're speaking with Allison Thompson from the MoneyFarm. She's a commodity broker and now the owner of this group. And if you have questions you'd like to join in on our conversation, feel free to do so. 701-293-9000. Again, that phone number on the screen for those watching on Facebook, YouTube Live, or Acres TV is 701-293-9000. When we come back, we're going to touch on a few topics that are revolved around, what would the GMO ban from Mexico on corn, the corn ethanol for, I think it was Southwest Airline, Bridgette, if I'm not mistaken. What would that mean for commodities and prices around our area, and how can those two things kind of bounce back and forth? And I know, Bridgette, we've been kind of dominating this, but I know you got a bunch of questions too. So we'll get to all that and so much more when we come back.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job?
Not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and
sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner?
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hungered in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Ew, the toilet sneeze. Every flush spews bacteria onto surfaces that little Bobby touches and then spreads to the light switch and everywhere else in the house. Yuck. So Dad uses Microban 24 to help stop the spread. It's the only sanitizing spray with a long-lasting shield that keeps killing 99.9% of bacteria on surfaces for up to 24 hours. Be confident you're protecting your family with Microban 24. Don't just sanitize it, Microban it.
As a Walgreens pharmacist, I talk with people all the time about little tips and tricks for filling their Medicare prescriptions, like taking advantage of Walgreens 90-day refills to save them a trip, or using Refill by Scan, which is super easy and right on your phone. And for anybody worried about prescription costs, I say, hey, we got you, with low-cost copays on many medications.
Let's talk about making things easier. Walgreens is here. Fill your way and save at walgreens.com/Medicare. See pharmacists for restrictions and exclusions.
The Home Builders Care Foundation of Fargo-Moorhead reminds you that Giving Hearts Day is February 9th. The Home Builders Care Foundation offers scholarships to area students excelling in construction-related fields. This includes high school and post-secondary students. Your donation helps community builds such as Habitat for Humanity, building wheelchair ramps, and more. To donate, go to hbcfm.com and donate today. hbcfm.com. And thanks.
Oil and natural gas help provide the things our counties and communities need. Taxes paid by the oil and natural gas industry fund schools, roads, and flood protection across North Dakota. That means we can run our farms and businesses and educate leaders for our future. It's one of the many ways oil and natural gas are making life better in North Dakota for generations. North Dakota's oil and natural gas, advancing the possibilities.
Hi, I'm Sean. I started my road to freedom in the Cass County Jail when I received a life recovery Bible from the jail chaplains. Today, my wife Misty and I are the owners of Bab's Coffee. We're offering a Given Hearts Day special to ensure others hear about Jesus. Stop by Bab's between now and February 9th. Purchase the heart-shaped sugar cookie with all proceeds going to the jail chaplains.
Partner with jail chaplains on February 9th at givingheartsday.org.
Hey, it's Bonnie Mastati from Bonnie and Friends. Join us weekday mornings beginning at 5. Coming up in our next show, Jeff and I will be live at Dakota Medical Foundation. We're so excited. It'll be Giving Hearts Day. 567 nonprofits looking for your support. Make a financial donation or volunteer your time. Pick 1, pick 3, pick 5, pick 10. Everything helps. Join us for the next Bonnie and Friends, live from Dakota Medical Foundation beginning at 5 a.m.
Hi, I'm Carson Kressley. Of all the resources in the world, kindness is the most precious. For more than 140 years, American Humane has been working to protect animals in disasters, on farms, on the silver screen, and in zoos and aquariums caring for the world's vanishing creatures. You can help too by making humane choices every day. Visit AmericanHumane.org for simple ways to build a more caring and compassionate world for all of us.
Welcome back. Here we are on WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Bridgette Readel, Ag Director, joined with our awesome staff of meteorologist Justin Storm and Chief Dean Wysocki. And Allison, earlier you might have heard us talking about the weather and why it's warmer in Minnesota. A caller let us know that that's simply because Minnesota men are much more warm-hearted. So I guess we're going to take note of that. Good to keep in mind.
I'm married to a guy from North Dakota, so I don't know.
Have that talk with him at home tonight and see. All right. Well,
we'll see how that goes.
Our guest today, Allison Thompson. She is now the owner of the MoneyFarm, and we are thrilled to be talking about markets and agriculture today. And it's not just orange juice and corn and soybeans anymore. So, Allison, my first question for you is, when you think about the reports that you mentioned coming out, like WASD and other USDA reports, how do those affect the market and why? Because you and I probably throw around those sorts of terms, and maybe they don't make a lot of sense to everyone who's listening. And how can it impact what a farmer might be able to sell his crop price for?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the USDA is obviously our biggest source of information, and whether you want to say it's lucky or not, I guess you could debate that. But we do get updates every month on what they're currently looking for outlooks, for supply and demand on the three major grains. And of course, there's other commodities that are included as well. But of course, here we're more concerned about corn, soybeans, and wheat. So these reports do come out, like I said, every month, and then we have some quarterly stock reports as well. But it gives us a better idea of what the trade is looking at, what we're looking at as far as supply and demand going forward. Any production issues, like we're talking about South America, those types of things will be taken into account each month and are subject to change. So they've definitely become market moving reports, whether that's good or bad. But and of course, prior to these reports, we get early trade estimates from a lot of private analysts on what they think is going to happen. And of course, the markets trade them. So whether or not we get a good trade opportunity that day can definitely be dictated by some of the reports. But lastly, now with a lot of the internet the way it is and social media and things like that, a lot of the numbers and stuff are somewhat priced into reports. And I think that was part of it today too. We know that the weather issues are down there in South America. So them lowering production today wasn't a huge surprise, as well as some of the demand things. They were kind of widely expected in the report, but we're starting to see a lot of more of it getting already traded into the report prior to its actual release. But it definitely gives us opportunities. Like even today, we did get a decent update. So you have to take advantage of those rallies when they do come.
These are, we have so many folks that listen and they talk about the nostalgia of when dad or grandpa farmed. But things have changed. We truly were operating in a global market, and all of these impacts, whether in South America, what's happening for trade in Ukraine, Russia, and Turkey, all of us, it impacts us so much more every single day than we might realize. And now that we're going to have 3 soybean crush plants coming into the state of North Dakota in the next, well, let's say 4 to 5 years, what do you see doing for our soybean acres and prices as we go forward with those crush plants, Allison?
Well, it'll definitely be interesting. There's definitely going to be competing for some end users. I definitely think, like I said, we're kind of a big export area up here, so a lot of our stuff goes overseas. So to have some more domestic use here definitely is going to make some competition of where our product goes. And it'll definitely should help some prices. That's true. We'll definitely have some more usage coming on board. But it might be more of a local play more than anything at your local elevators and against these plants, maybe competing a little bit more on the basis side. But it is good to have another option right here in our back door. It definitely helps the outlook as long as biofuel markets and things like that stay strong as well. It definitely should help our outlook.
And Allison, how did you get into commodity broker, and what do you find is the most challenging part of your job?
Well, I actually went to school to be an ag teacher. I actually taught high school ag for 1 year and realized that wasn't quite my calling, though. So I decided to work with farmers every day. I was a farm business management instructor for a few years with Lake Region State College out of Devil's Lake. And then I got the opportunity to move in with the MoneyFarm with Luke Swenson and Mike Kruger. And I absolutely love the markets and market planning and things like that. So it was a very good move for me, move closer to home. My husband farms with my dad near Monona, Minnesota. So it's been good, but yeah, it's always a challenge. You can't outguess markets. So your hindsight's always 20/20. So, but we're always trying to find the best information and strategies out there. So it's an ongoing challenge, but that's what we love.
It sounds like weather. You're trying to forecast the future. And you're trying to be as most accurate as you can.
Right. Yeah. That's exactly it. Pretty much.
What would you say to somebody that wants to maybe get into commodities or trading them? Is it something that's easy to do? Is it hard to learn? And do you need a sizable amount of money to start, or can you just kind of walk in, a few $100s to a few thousand like you can on the stock market, and you're just buying, the smaller things, and you slowly work your way up?
Right. When it comes to the trading side, yeah, there are smaller contracts you wouldn't have to do, a full-size contracts. There are minis out there which are half the size. So it just depends what everybody's risk level is. Everybody's risk level is different. So that's kind of why we like to work with you one-on-one and kind of, talk with you and understand what kind of position you're looking for, what you're wanting to do, what you want to trade to do. But yeah, you can open up an account with any brokerage firm. We have one here in-house. So they can certainly open a trading account with us. Our clearinghouse is ADM in Chicago. So we go through them, and then once they have something set up, it's kind of, they can basically trade anything they would really like for that matter. But yeah, we do try and stick with the 3 main grains, of course. But yeah, it depends on everybody's risk. Everyone's risk level is different.
I see. And is there, I guess I don't know how to say, is there like a recommended number? Like if you're going to do this, try and walk in with $25,000 or something like that. You see where I'm trying to go with that?
I guess I do. Coming from the farmer standpoint, though, we don't necessarily always look at it as a money thing going in and out. A lot of these guys are hedging production needs is mainly what I work with. So when they come in, we're hedging a certain percentage of next year's crop, which we look at production-wise, which is in bushels. So we're taking certain percentages of bushels, which amount to contracts. So that's kind of how we look at it in my career field, rather than a lot of the stockbrokers and things like that. They could look at it as money, putting money in. But on my side, we definitely look more on the production side and hedging our production needs.
What about short sellers?
Does that make sense?
It does. Do you have short sellers in the commodities as well? And if you do, how are those tied into prices?
Short sellers.
Like you can short on a stock where you're buying it, expecting it to go down in price, and that's how you're actually making the money on it, is that the price goes down because I think how it exactly works is you're buying it with someone else's money and then selling it back to them for a cheaper price.
Well, yeah, buying and sellers, yeah, it's the same thing in the market. We have funds. We have fund movement that comes in as well. That's actually been one of the biggest players in our market. The funds or managed money is definitely long right now. So we're concerned about is when those monies start to move out too. It'll definitely take our markets down. So that's probably more of what we're watching on the commodity side, or where the hedge funds are at on a weekly basis. But unfortunately now this week the U.S. or their report was delayed, so we don't actually know where they're sitting this week. So it's a guessing game. Hopefully we'll know in the days to come of where they are. But yeah, we do watch that on a weekly basis.
I see. And before I know Bridgette's got, I think she had a couple more questions for you, but before I toss it over to her, we were kind of teasing at the beginning of the show, if they're going to start using a corn biodiesel or biofuel for jet airlines and the whole potential corn GMO ban from Mexico, what might that look like in our area? If there's a higher demand for corn for those two different things, or maybe the ban in Mexico would kind of limit that, but how would that affect our area, or what would it do?
Yeah, it would definitely affect our prices here, I think. The usage thing is definitely a positive for our area, especially when it comes to biofuels. We've definitely seen the biofuel market really, really pick up here, and it has given us good support to both corn and soybean markets. Looking at the Mexico side of things, that one could definitely be a hindrance. But again, from what we've been hearing, and rumors go back and forth, this seems to be a couple years out, but from what we've been hearing is that it mainly will be, it could affect livestock feeding a little bit more. So it'll be interesting to see how the tables all figure out on that one. But obviously, any new usage coming online definitely helps for demand. The question is if we have the acres to meet those demand needs. Obviously, around here, we're not strictly corn and soybean growers. There's also a lot of specialty crops, wheat, canola, I mean, you name it. There's a lot of different ones that come into the mix. So it's definitely going to increase competition against not only the other grains, but also these specialty crops as well in our area. So it should be beneficial to price, but again, there's a lot of unknowns here, and it's still years out before we really start to see it.
I see. Well, I think we're running low on time. I know that Bridgette had a couple of questions, but I think that we lost her connection to to the station here, so we're going to get that reconnected. But we want to thank you for joining us. And if there's people out there listening, they have more questions, they want to get more information, where can they go to get that information or get in contact with you and your business?
Yeah, we're always happy to take phone calls, up days, down days, and everything in between. You can give us a call at the office. The number is 701-347-5985. Otherwise, you can visit our website, themoneyfarm.com, or you can always send me an email at Allison, ALLISON, at themoneyfarm.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Allison. And when Weather and Ag in Focus returns, well, we got another look at the forecast, got a couple more ag topics to get to. And chime in. We want to hear from you. Give us a call, 701-293-9000. Stay tuned. Weather and Ag in Focus. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Kayla with Sanctuary and Riverhaven Event Centers, and I'm here to tell you why I chose 702 Communications for all of our managed services, phone, internet, and security cameras. At our event center, we have hundreds of people coming into our business weekly, and it's so important for us to have cameras that we can rely on. We reached out to 702 so that they could give us a quote for installing brand new cameras in all areas of our building, and now we have 26 cameras so that we know every part of our building is under surveillance and we're secure. We've had cameras in our business for a while, but we reached out to 702 because we were having issues. A lot of them weren't working all the time. So 702 was able to come in, give us a solution, fix everything, install all brand new cameras, and now we know we've got better audio, better quality, and we have an app that we use that has full surveillance 24 hours a day for us to pull up and know exactly what's going on. As a business owner, that peace of mind is invaluable.
If you want more peace of mind for your business that's invaluable, call 702 Communications right now at 218-250-8700. Again, 218-250-8700. Call now because peace of mind is priceless.
Hi, this is Kevin Pfeiffer with Pfeiffer's Auction Company. Pfeiffer's upcoming February auctions include 786 acres of exceptional cropland in Ward County, 310 acres of highly productive cropland in Renville County near Glenburn, 308 acres of excellent cropland in Trail County south of Mayville and Portland, 640 acres of highly productive cropland near Hope, North Dakota and Steele County, and 340 acres of exceptional cropland in Becker County, Minnesota. View these auctions and many more land and equipment auctions at Pfeiffer's.com.
Don't you hate when you forget something important? Grandma's birthday, the password to your old laptop, or picking up little Timmy from hockey practice? It's okay, we've all been there. Let us take one thing off your mind this year with Giving Hearts Day scheduled giving. Starting January 2nd, you can give to one of hundreds of charitable causes before the big day. You can even pledge to volunteer if that's your thing. Visit givingheartsday.org and help someone in your community today.
We'll take a look at how the markets closed after today's WASDA report. The American Ag Network, I'm Richard Risvet with this closing market. After today's WASDA report came out at 11 a.m. Central Time, Kansas City wheat reached its highest trade in over 9 weeks while nearing a test of $9 per bushel and its 100-day moving average of $9.04. Now, despite the record crop forecast for Brazil, the March-May inverse for both soybeans and corn strengthened in today's trade, while U.S. basis levels remain significantly stronger than average for this week. USDA lowered its Argentine soybean production estimate to 41 million metric tons, down 4.5 million from the previous month, while cutting its corn production estimate by 5 million metric tons to 47. Now, both of these reductions were about a metric ton more than expected. Otherwise, though, the changes in USDA's domestic and global balance sheets were rather few and far between. No changes were made to the size of Brazil's corn and soybean crops. U.S. soybean crush was cut by 15 million bushels, while no changes were made to exports. Corn ethanol use was cut by 25 million bushels. Ending stocks of both were adjusted accordingly. Changes to the wheat balance sheet were very small and cosmetic in nature. Now, the headline reading algos sold the corn, soybean, and wheat markets directly after the report's release. However, the human factor came in and bought that break. Let's get a look at some of the closing market numbers. March corn up 4.5 at 678.5. March beans also up 4.5 at 15.19 3/4. Bean meal March up 50 cents a ton at 481.90. Bean oil March down 31 at 60.58. Wheat Chicago March up 15 at 764 3/4. Kansas City March up 10 1/4 at 8.96. And the March Minneapolis wheat that's up 8 1/4 at 925.5. Live cattle February up 22 at 160.80. Feeders March down 75 at 186.45. And the February lean hogs they're up 55 at 75.92. The dollar sits at 103.1, and crude oil is trading up a little over a buck at just over $78 a barrel. For the American Ag Network, I'm Richard Risvet.
Turn my mic on there, buddy. Thank you. Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. I want to thank everybody for joining us this afternoon. Thank you, Allison Thompson, for joining us as well from the MoneyFarm. It's always, I love, that was the one thing I kind of wanted to get into when I was getting out of school, was in intertwining meteorology and commodity broker. There was a couple of people in our graduating class that went on to do that, and they ended up loving it. So, but
something to get into, maybe.
Yeah. Weather for our area, I'll tell you what, just absolutely. I'm sorry, we're being spoiled by Mother Nature. Temperatures in the 30s out there. Some areas will touch 40 this afternoon out in the forested areas of Minnesota, central, northern Minnesota. Some areas could touch 40 or even eclipse 40, while here in the valley, I think we'll see mid-30s. It's conceivable the southern valley could touch the upper 30s, but I think mid-30s is a good bet. And don't get used to it. We do turn much colder tomorrow. Winds whip out of the northwest, maybe a sprinkle or flurry as we head into tomorrow. Nothing really to worry about there, but temperatures in the 20s tomorrow, but a stiff northwest wind will make it feel like it's in the single digits. So very cold tomorrow. And a cold day on Friday. Now, cold being relative with temperatures in the 20s, and our normal highs this year are in the lower 20s, so it's about where we should be. And then we were right back into the 30s from Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of next week. Again, still eyeing the potential of a big storm the middle and end of next week, but most of our latest long-term models are trying to trend this southward. It doesn't necessarily mean that will be the case, but that seems to be the general trend. And if you're following us along on our LRC calendar, it says, well, wait a minute. It says, potential for a big storm here between the 15th and the 22nd, actually a few of them. And that still may pan out. The storms are there on the LRC cycle, but again, there's a lot of different factors that are steering these to the south, where in the first cycle, which was in December, they came northward. So, yeah.
Have to wait and see.
Actually, that would be second cycle. Second cycle, they came northward. So
how it all plays out. And if you're out there enjoying this weather, give us a call. What do you think of this winter so far? Have we had it pretty easy? Do you want more snow? You got fun weekend plans? I know that there's fun events going on around the area. You got Super Bowl. Is that this week?
That's Sunday.
Wow.
Poles and holes out in Detroit Lakes. Perfect weather for that. Maybe
nice
a little
to go
slushy.
Skiing.
Perfect skiing weather. We need some fresh snow, though. It'd be nice to see some fresh powder if you're cross-country skiing or downhill. We need a little more fresh powder. But, other than that, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Bridgette, any complaints? This is
yes.
Yes.
I have no complaints. No complaints. And this Saturday is actually the Dam Open in Hunter, North Dakota, because we are playing golf. It is a 4-man golf scramble on the ice, and you get to use 3 pieces of sporting goods equipment of your choice. So we're talking baseball bats, hockey sticks, golf clubs, and we play with tennis balls, and you get to use snowmobiles and 4-wheelers as your cart. And that will start, I believe it's at noon on Saturday, where I live in Hunter, North Dakota. And if you're not there, you can be going to the Little International, which is the NDSU student stock show that's going on campus.
Are you
do you need some guests, some company?
Yeah, that would be a blast. Are you playing in that or no?
Would you guys like to be on my golf quad? We need 4 of us for a team.
What day?
Let me know if you're coming. Saturday.
Saturday. Dean, what are your plans on Saturday?
Nothing.
I'll have to ask Sterling if he minds if Daddy goes and plays golf for a little bit.
That would be fun.
Absolutely.
It might be a little slushy underfoot, but
it's fine. Wear good boots. I like to play with. I like a hockey stick. I like my driver, and those are probably my 2 most useful things. But yeah,
what do you use a baseball bat?
Use a baseball bat if you'd like.
Hitting the tennis ball.
Yeah,
hit the ball.
Pick up your tennis ball and whack your tennis ball.
Interesting. I like this.
This is a fun idea.
How long does this last, Bridgette?
Well, we play, I don't know if they're going to play 9 or 18 holes. It's nice enough. It might be 18 holes. So how quickly can you play 18 holes on a lake?
Interesting.
This sounds fun. I wonder how many people usually turn out for this? Is this a good size event, or is it just like a small little local town thing?
It's a local town thing, but we'll usually have a good 18 or 20 teams.
Wow. Well, if anyone out there has done this before, give us a call. Let us know what it was like. Was it fun? Would you recommend that we get together and...
Oh, we got to road trip this. So it would be, so you have your own team. So it would be me, you, Justin, and we've got to find a fourth.
We could find.
Oh, this
sounds fun.
Yes, you got to find a babysitter. I'm in. I'm in.
I'll see what I can work out. But
I love trying. I've never done that before, so
I've done foot golf, but I've never done ice golf. Actually, no, I have done ice golf once before. It's not the same thing that you have set up, but up in the Brainerd Lakes area, they have an event that goes on every year. It's called Frozen 4, and all the bars on the lake, I think there's like 8 of them or something, 8 or 9 bars and restaurants on Gull Lake, and they all put up a putting green on the ice in front of their business, and you bus snowmobile from bar to bar and restaurant to restaurant, and you get a scorecard, and at the end of the day everyone meets out at this big party tent in the middle of the lake, and you just party the rest of the night. They get bands that come in. And
when's that?
That is coming up here in a few weeks, I think.
There's another road trip.
We could do our show live
got
from
a
the
lot.
tent.
Yeah, you got to
There's so many
embrace.
things
You
that
have
we
to.
need to get out and do.
You do. You have to embrace winter when it's this nice out. You really do, because it could easily be 20 below right now. Easily.
It's 20 below in
Absolutely.
Canada.
Yeah. It's staying up there too.
Yeah, it is staying up there. It's cold weather, and it can stay up there because, as far as I'm concerned for winter, I love this kind of weather. I wish we would get more snow.
It's
but
coming.
I like
We'll
the
get
mild
it.
temperatures.
Even if we do, so this stormy part of the LRC cycle coming in second and third week of this month. This will be back in 50 days. But extrapolate that out, we're looking early April. So by then, and again, we could be getting a blizzard in April. That's absolutely possible. Or we're on the warm side of this, and all the snow gets shoved westward into the western parts of the Dakotas.
That
So
happened last year, where
that
they got hit
happened
with the spring
exactly how it
blizzard, and we
happened
got
last year.
rain and freezing rain out of it. So all things to keep an eye on, and we'll be tracking that with you, and you can follow along. Remember, our LRC Spring Outlook is going to be on March 7th from 2 to 4 right here on the Jay Thomas Show, and then we'll do an hour Q&A and some personal forecast for those that want to call in from 4 to 5. So mark it on your calendar. But that'll do it for us here on Weather and Ag in Focus. We thank you for listening, watching on Facebook, YouTube Live, Acres TV. We'll be back tomorrow, 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The Jay Thomas Show is coming up next.
970 WDAY AM and